Imagine holding in your hand a coin that does not just represent 50 cents of American money, but a true piece of national history. A silver half-dollar minted in the year 1948, a year that stood at the crossroads of post-war recovery, economic growth, and cultural transformation. The 1948 half-dollar is not just a coin. It is a window into a time when the United States was reshaping itself into a world power after the devastation of World War II and when its people were entering a new age of prosperity and optimism. And yet, even as the nation turned its gaze toward the future, the designs and symbolism etched into the coins of that era continued to carry echoes of the nation's past traditions and values. And that is why the 1948 half-dollar stands as a fascinating treasure, not only for collectors but also for historians, economists, and anyone who wants to understand the story of America through its money. The 1948 half-dollar belongs to the Franklin half-dollar series, which was introduced that very year. It marked a historic moment in United States coinage, because for the first time a founding father, other than a president, was placed on the obverse of a circulating coin. The choice of Benjamin Franklin was deliberate, and it reflected the admiration many Americans held for Franklin as a symbol of ingenuity, wisdom, independence, and civic virtue. Chief engraver John R. Sinnock of the U.S. Mint designed the coin drawing from sketches and models that he had been developing. In the 1940s, Sinnock sought to capture Franklin's intellectual seriousness and dignified presence, and the design chosen depicted a profile portrait of Franklin facing right on the reverse. The Liberty Bell dominated the design, a powerful emblem of American freedom, with a small eagle placed to the right, as required by law. The Liberty Bell was especially meaningful in 1948, when the nation was still celebrating victory in war and embracing its democratic ideals. The release of the 1948 Franklin half-dollar was a major departure from the Walking Liberty half-dollar designed by Adolph A. Weinman, which had circulated from 1916 to 1947. The Walking Liberty design was widely considered one of the most beautiful in American coinage, with its image of Lady Liberty striding toward the rising sun draped in the American flag. Many collectors and ordinary Americans had grown attached to it, so when it was replaced by the Franklin half-dollar, the change sparked considerable discussion. Some critics felt that the new design was too plain compared to the artistic grace of the Walking Liberty, but others praised the new coin for its symbolism and its straightforward strength. Franklin's face on the obverse and the Liberty Bell on the reverse gave the coin an air of seriousness that reflected the sober responsibility of the United States as the new leader of the free world. Minting began in 1948 at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with the Philadelphia issues carrying no mint mark, and the Denver issues marked with a D mint mark placed above the Liberty Bell on the reverse. These two mint locations produced millions of Franklin half-dollars, but as is always the case in numismatics, not all coins survive in equal numbers and not all coins survive in equal condition. Collectors value the 1948 half-dollar highly, not only because it was the very first year of the Franklin series, but also because well-struck examples with full details, especially full bell lines on the Liberty Bell, are particularly difficult to find. The presence of full bell lines means the horizontal lines across the Liberty Bell's lower half are sharply and completely visible, which indicates an excellent strike such coins command strong premiums in the collector market because they represent the ideal expression of Sinnock's design. The year 1948 itself gives further historical depth to this coin. The United States was in the early years of the Cold War. The Marshall Plan had just been launched to aid in the recovery of Europe. The Berlin airlift was underway as American and Allied pilots delivered food and supplies to the people of West Berlin, blockaded by the Soviet Union. At home, the United States was experiencing economic expansion, suburban growth, and a rising birth rate that would fuel the baby boom era. Coins minted during this time did not just circulate as money. They passed from hand to hand in diners, in factories, and newly built suburban grocery stores. And in the pockets of servicemen and students alike, the Franklin half-dollar of 1948 therefore carries the fingerprints of a generation that built modern America. Collectors often study the details of these coins with a meticulous eye examining. Mint marks strike quality luster and signs of wear over time. Philadelphia Mint issues are generally considered somewhat easier to find in higher grades than Denver Mint issues, but both have their challenges. Coins that remain in uncirculated condition, especially those graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, can fetch impressive prices. The rarity increases dramatically when one seeks specimens with deep mirror-proof-like surfaces, or those rare examples with cameo contrasts in proofs, which were not widely available to the public at that time since proof coinage production for the Franklin series would not resume until 1950. This makes the 1948 issues strictly business strikes, adding to their collectible intrigue from a cultural perspective. The 1948 Franklin half-dollar represented more than money. It reflected the ideals of science, reason, and liberty embodied by Franklin, who himself was a scientist, inventor, diplomat, and statesman. Franklin's legacy as a man who strived to improve society through knowledge and civic responsibility made him a fitting choice for a nation positioning itself as a leader in the modern world. The Liberty Bell, with its famous crack, stood as a reminder that liberty is never perfect. Never. Without challenge, yet always enduring and always resonant with the American people. If we dive deeper into the economic context, silver content plays a crucial role. The 1948 half-dollar is composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, giving it an intrinsic value tied to precious metal markets beyond its face value. Throughout the decades, collectors and investors alike have valued these coins not just for their design and rarity, but also for their silver content during times of economic uncertainty. Silver coins, like the 1948 half-dollar, were often hoarded, melted, or traded as bullion, further reducing the number of high-grade survivors. This interplay between intrinsic value and collectible value makes the 1948 half-dollar an especially fascinating study in the world of rare coins. The story of this coin does not end with its release. It is also tied to the evolution of American numismatics. The Franklin half-dollar series ran from 1948 to 1963, ending only with the tragic assassination of John F. Kennedy, after which the Kennedy half-dollar was introduced. Franklin halves therefore represent a unique transitional chapter in U.S. coinage history. They are the last half-dollar series struck entirely in 90% silver for circulation, and they serve as a bridge between the artistic coinage of the early 20th century and the modern commemorative era beginning in the 1960s. So when you hold or study a 1948 Franklin half-dollar, you are not simply examining a coin, you are touching a story that spans centuries. You are looking at the face of one of the most brilliant minds in American history. You are tracing the lines of the Liberty Bell, a symbol that has rung across generations. You are feeling the weight of silver that has connected economies for thousands of years, and you are stepping back into a time when America stood at the threshold of becoming a global power. A coin like this is not just a collectible. It is a history lesson, a work of art, and a treasure, all in one.